Hi. So this is my first Naked Truth vlog. I've never done one. I have seen various ones, especially obviously Trisha's, but I haven't done one. I don't know. I just wasn't. I don't know. Anyways, I'm not obviously naked, but I read that it can also be like barefaced and just basically showing yourself to the world. So with me, it's makeup free and everything. So Trisha's question was, have you ever had a major surgery and how do you handle it? So the surgery that I had was about a year ago, not even a year ago, I think a couple months ago. I had what's called a pilonidal. I'm gonna write it because I have no idea. Because it's I live in a place that's their first language is Spanish, so it's called the polineal. So it's a cyst basically. They told me that it was normally found, not found, but normally happens in males, so it wasn't very common for a girl to have it. So when I went to I'm gonna be honest, I did not Google search anything because I knew I was gonna get very scared. So the thing is, sometimes it gets misdiagnosed with normal ingrown hair. So when I was in the States for vacation, it hurt so badly. It's on my lower back. It was on my lower back, like lower back. It hurt so much that I couldn't stand up properly, and it was the most painful thing. I cried, and when I went to the emergency room, they thought that it was just oh, it's an ingrown hair. So what they did, it's gonna be a little TMI. It's gonna be a little graphic, so just a warning. What they did was they what hurt most obviously was the anesthesia because it burned. I screamed. It was 4 shots of anesthesia. They ripped it open, they cut it open. They didn't rip it open. They cut it open, and what they did was they will extract the pus. I know. And then what they did was that they put on medical tape. They to drain it. So I had to go another time. So they let me go back home with an open wound for 3 days. The medical tape was draining it, and I would have to change the gauze, that's what it's called. And I was sent painkillers, not pain medicine, and it was every 6 hours, and I at the 5 hour 30 minutes, the pain, I took those pills religiously. And then when I went back, they did it again, and it was more painful because the doctor, he wasn't really he was on his computer, he didn't really pay attention to me, and he just he didn't put gauze anywhere, so it started dripping, and you were basically laying down naked. So my mom was like, put something there, you're gonna infect something else. And the doctors were just eh. So, and the doctor, what he did was he literally grabbed tweezers and started stabbing the wound. It hurt, and on top of that, I had my period, so it was a great time. And then they took it off, and then I'm like, oh, aren't you gonna stitch? I'm like, no, it closed by itself. It did not close by itself. It lasted about a month and a half, and you're like, oh, you should have gone to the doctor. I should have, but I'm afraid of doctors, so I didn't go to the doctor. So it kind of started closing off by itself, bit by bit. But if I hit myself on the back of a chair or something, they'd open a bit. So it was very freaky and very scary. And when finally it did close, out of nowhere, another one appeared right on top of it, and I was like, this isn't good. So what I would do is I would clean it with it's to clean your wounds. And I would do that every time, and I would have to use gauze basically every day, and that was what it was doing, was burning my skin, because obviously you're covering a wound for such a long period of time, hours, that isn't good. So finally it got to a point where it started oozing, I know, and I was freaking out. And finally I went to a dermatologist, and he's like, okay, the first dermatologist I went to, he's like, okay, what we're gonna do is we're gonna stick it with needles, inflate the thing, cut it off, send that to biopsy to see if whatever it is, and then we're gonna operate you. But when we Shazam the thing, we're not gonna cover it. We're just gonna let it bare open. So I was like, no, 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 So I told my mom I really want another doctor. So we went to a plastic surgeon, not plastic surgeon, which is surgeon. Is there a difference? I don't know, but he's a surgeon, and he told me, okay, it's easy. I know what it is because I showed him. And he's like, we'll schedule your operation, we'll take it out, and then when we take everything out, we'll send the sample to a biopsy. And I'm like, yes, that's perfect, I want that. So when I went to the doctors, I was extremely nervous because I've never had surgery before, and I hate getting my blood taken out. I pass out, or I almost pass out every time, and they have to give me like tea, and they have to like put my feet up. It's just a very bad, horrible thing. And it's not even because like, you know, because sometimes you stop breathing, like I used to do that. No, I like take deep breaths and still. I think it's like the adrenaline high. I don't know. Anyways, so as I got like the IV, I was waiting there, and my mom, she's like, you have to tell him, because I'm asthmatic and I'm allergic to some medicine. But like, you have to tell him, because my mom, a lot of people die in hospitals because they don't, you know, kind of, they treat so many people like they kind of not notice that like, oh, she was allergic or she's asthmatic, and we give her, you know, because you have to have a certain anesthesia for people who are asthmatic. You can't have like normal, I don't know. I'm not a doctor, I'm not going to explain it. And, so my mom was like, remember to tell him. And either way, like the hospital, they put like this red tape where it's like telling what I'm allergic to, and then I'm asthmatic. So they told me, you're going to be operated at like 1:30. And they let me go in at 12:30, and I was like freaking out. I'm in a wheelchair, and they have like a blanket on me because it's very cold, and my parents obviously couldn't come in, so I was by myself. And I go in there, and I see blood on the walls, and obviously that could be anything, but in my mind I was like, I'm going to die. And since my mom was like very adamant because of me being like remembered to tell them, like they got me in, and the doctor, he was so angry because the guy who does the anesthesia, God, I can't even talk. I said that word too many times. He wasn't there yet because obviously the surgery was going to be later. So the doctor was like, why'd you call me? And he was angry, and I was freaking out like, please don't be angry, please don't be angry, like this isn't how I want my surgery to go. Their nurses were super nice. They were super amazing. They were like, no, lay on your back, it's going to take a while. They put the blanket on me, they asked me my name, they told me their name, and I was like laughing, and at the same time I was like, I'm dying. And finally the anesthesia came, the anesthesiologist came, and apparently when I went to take because you have to have an appointment with an anesthesiologist so they can see if you're like, if you can have the surgery under anesthesia. And it was a woman. She told me like, this is the test that you have to take, blah blah blah. I don't even remember what tests were, but they were blood tests. And then when I see them, my anesthesiologist isn't the woman, it's a man, and I'm like telling him, I'm asthmatic, please, like I was freaking out. And everything was very cold, and I was laying there, it was like these big things, and they were moving stuff, and they put the anesthesia through my IV because I felt it burn in my hand, and then they put the mask, and that's the last thing I remember. And then when I woke up, I woke up very like jolted awake. I was crying because I immediately started crying because I thought I was dying. And they were like moving. I could see them moving. They were like, and apparently my throat was hurting because apparently something happened because they had to like tube me. So basically they put the tube down your throat so you can breathe, which I was like, eh. So I was waking up, and the thing is, that's like the problem with hospitals because there's so many people and they don't really know what's happening. Even though they write what like in a whiteboard, they write like your surgery, they started like pulling me up by my arms, and obviously my wound was on my back, lower back, so it started hurting, and the nurse was like, oh my god, I'm so sorry, and they like tried to turn me, and they told my mom, and when I saw my mom, I just started bawling my eyes out more, and I was like, I thought I was gonna die, like I really thought that I was going to die. And then when I finally calmed down, they gave me some juice, only a little bit, because they're like, if you drink more, you're gonna vomit. So I was like, okay, great. And the pain was right there, probably a 5, because they dragged me across the bed. And then they took me, and then they were like, oh, okay. Then they took the IV out. The nurse was really nice. She's like, oh no, I hate because I've had IVs like just like yanked off, because like the nurse is like. But this nurse was really nice. And then when I got back home, the pain was like a 4. Like the pain literally after that day was like a 3, 2. Like I didn't feel it. I basically had like 4 or 5 days at home, just like laying down, but on my side, or nothing on my back, and not like a lot of movement. And then I had to go back to get my stitches out, which I was very nervous because I don't know, but I didn't feel anything. I felt like a little, not even a pinch. It was just like this uncomfortable feeling, you're it. And then he's like, oh, you're totally fine, perfect. I do have a scar, and sometimes it does hurt a bit. And the thing is, I think my skin or whatever doesn't really heal that well, so kind of feels like if like the muscles aren't like together, but they're like kind of like this. I don't know. It's weird. Maybe it's like my psychological thing. Maybe I'm not actually feeling it. I don't know. But that was a very not fun surgery. But okay. I just noticed that I haven't talked about what the thing is. So basically what it is what the cyst is that it's like a little bag. It contains hair and skin. So it's like under your dermis or over, I don't know, but it's there, and it's like a little bag. And mine was 17 centimeters, which is, I remember when they told me 7 centimeters, I was like, holy, because 7 centimeters is like, I do have a ruler. This is 7 centimeters. That was in my body, like, and they said that was like not the largest that they've ever taken, but like, because obviously it was like 2 years. No, I'm exaggerating. Wait, no. Yeah, almost 2 years. So obviously that thing kept growing. So yeah, that can happen to your body. I had to get laser hair removal after, because they were like, it can happen in other parts, because, you know, some people have them in their armpits, some other have it like just where your hair, you're like, I don't know if you can see that I'm like more hairier than normal girls, or like the majority of girls. So yeah. It was exciting 2 years of my life. So, you know, just know that people, I always recommend, always 2 or 3 opinions on doctors, because you can't always put your faith on one doctor, because, you know, doctors are human beings. Doctors, you know, they aren't, you know, just, it's easier. And like I said, if you have 2 doctors who are saying the same exact thing, and then if you get, let's say, a 3rd doctor just because you're like, and says something, then you know it's 100% sure. But like, or even, for example, the methods. Because, for example, my first dermatologist, who is creating this method of like, first biopsy, but we're going to leave you with an open wound, and then we're going to operate. And I was like, I'm not going to do that. While the other surgeon was just like, we're going to do everything at once. And I'm like, so, and oh, it wasn't anything bad, by the way. They did analyze everything, and they're like, it's nothing. So, anyways, yeah. So, don't know how to say goodbye, but bye, I guess. Be aware of cysts that can appear on your body. Anyways, bye.